If you have an Airbnb booked anytime soon, you might want to cancel it because these aren't creepy stories. These are real guest experiences, cases so disturbing that some of them left whole police departments confused. Tonight, you'll hear why one guest refused to sleep with the lights off ever again, why another ran barefoot into the street at 2 a.m., and the chilling reason a third traveler vanished inside a perfectly normal house. This is your final warning. Let's begin. Sarah was 27, traveling alone, and wanted a cheap stay near the city center. The reviews were great, the host was responsive, the pictures looked normal. The only strange thing? A single sentence buried in one review. A hallway closet freaked me out a little, but everything else was great. Sarah laughed it off. Everyone gets scared of something. Arrived at the house late, let herself in, and immediately noticed something off. The air inside felt warm, like someone had just been there. But whatever, long travel day. She dropped her bags and started exploring. Everything looked exactly like the photos. Clean kitchen, small living room, 2 bedrooms, and then the hallway, right where that reviewer mentioned it. A narrow closet door, plain white, closed. But Sarah had this weird impression that the space behind it was occupied, not by clothes, not by storage, but by attention. She shook it off and went to bed. Night 1, 2:14 a.m. Noise woke her, a soft rhythmic sound, like someone breathing through a door. Sarah froze. She listened. It wasn't the AC, it wasn't pipes, it was coming directly from the hallway. She grabbed her phone, turned on the flashlight, and stepped out of her room. The breathing stopped. She stood there shaking, staring at that same closet. Then, tap, 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 3 soft knocks from the inside. Sarah backed into her room, slammed the door, and stayed awake until sunrise. Morning, she messaged the host. Hey, the closet is making noises. Is someone staying in there? Maintenance? Anything? The host replied instantly. There's nothing in that closet. You must be hearing the pipes. Enjoy your stay. Pipes. Right. That night she almost booked a hotel, but something in her said, don't spend more money, it's just a closet. She regretted it instantly. Night 2, 3:41 a.m. Something jolted her awake again, except this time, it wasn't breathing. It was the closet door. Creak. Ah, just a tiny opening, but enough for the darkness inside to spill into the hallway like ink. Sarah grabbed her phone and started recording, whispering, okay, nope, nope, nope. She whispered, who's there? Stupid question, but fear makes you do stupid things. Silence. Then, the door closed on its own, slowly. Not slammed, not pushed, closed. That was it. Sarah grabbed her stuff and walked out at 4 a.m. to twist. A week later, she got a message from the host. Hi, Sarah. Hope everything's okay. Police contacted us. Can you please confirm you didn't open the closet? They said they found signs. She didn't reply, but she looked up the local news report. 2 years earlier, a tenant had gone missing in that same house. Last seen by neighbors entering the hallway, right near the closet. Police never found anything. But what they did find, according to the article, was evidence that someone lived secretly inside that closet for months before disappearing entirely. Sarah claims the breathing she heard wasn't paranormal. And to this day, when people ask why she refuses to book Airbnbs, she says, I don't care if it was a ghost or a person. Either way, something alive was in there with me. Michael booked a private room in an Airbnb during a work trip. Shared house, host lived downstairs. Cheap, simple, nothing weird, until he noticed the host had one rule: quiet hours, 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. Please do not leave your room. Odd, but whatever. Night 1 was normal. Michael showered, watched some videos, then went to sleep. But at 2:10 a.m., he woke up suddenly because he heard footsteps, slow, heavy, right outside his door. Then a sniffing sound, as if someone was inhaling through the crack under the door. Michael sat up in bed, heart pounding. He checked his phone. 2:14 a.m., exactly the quiet hours. He didn't move, didn't breathe. Then a voice whispered outside his door, "Are you awake?" Michael didn't answer. The footsteps eventually faded away. Morning, he confronted the host. "Were you upstairs last night?" The host smiled too quickly. "Nope, must have been the house settling. Happens with old wood." But Michael knew what he heard. Still, he stayed. 3 more nights. Every night at 2 a.m. sharp, the footsteps returned. Sometimes pacing, sometimes stopping outside his door, sometimes trying the doorknob. Click, click, click. On the 4th night, he recorded it. Footsteps, breathing, soft humming. But the most chilling part? At 2:07 a.m., the doorknob turns again, and an excited whisper says, "Just a little longer." Michael booked a hotel immediately and left before sunrise. The twist. A month later, he got an email from Airbnb regarding an ongoing investigation. He clicked. The host had been arrested, not for anything paranormal, but for breaking into guest rooms and watching them sleep. Police found hidden recordings in the basement. Some of the footage went back years. Michael's file? The officer told him, "You were lucky. He never got inside your room." Michael responded, "He would have if I stayed one more night." He now travels exclusively in hotels. If the walls are going to be thin, he says, at least they won't have someone whispering through them. This story comes from a couple named Ryan and Ava, a weekend getaway. Small cabin, great reviews, beautiful area. The host mentioned one thing. Feel free to explore the property, except the shed out back. It's dangerous. Classic red flag, right? But they didn't plan to go near the shed anyway. That night they cooked dinner, played cards, and went to bed. But at 1:30 a.m., they heard a sound coming from the backyard. Metal scraping, slow, repeating. Ryan looked out the window. The shed door was open, swinging gently. They hadn't touched it. He whispered, "Someone's out there." Ava grabbed her phone and dialed 911 just in case. While they waited, the scraping stopped. Silence. Then, footsteps on the deck. Slow, deliberate steps. Someone walked right up to the sliding glass door and stood there, not knocking, not trying to get in, just watching. They couldn't see a face, just a silhouette. Still, perfectly still. Ava whispered, "Please go away." The figure stepped closer to the glass, then something clicked. Not the door, their motion-activated camera on the porch. They both jumped, but when they checked the connected phone app, there was no one on the porch. No figure, no shape, just an empty deck. Yet the footsteps continued. The silhouette remained, but only from inside the cabin could they see it. The police arrived, sirens, lights. Officers searched the property. Nothing except the shed. Inside they found a single mattress, empty food cans, clothing, and a phone charger plugged into an extension cord running from the cabin's outlet. Someone had been living there. But the strangest part, on the wall was a phrase scratched into the wood. "The last guest never left." Police later told them the shed showed signs of multiple occupants over time, meaning the person they saw outside might not have been the only one, and the camera not picking up a figure. Cops said that happens sometimes when someone is standing too close, right up against the glass. The couple left that night and never returned. The listing was taken down, but locals say the shed still gets new scratch marks. And whoever was living there, they haven't caught them. Not a single one. If you made it this far, congratulations. You'll never sleep in a rental the same way again. Airbnbs might be cheap, they might be convenient, but behind the smiling profile pictures and superhost badges, you never really know who's on the other side of that door, or worse, who's already inside. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and check the closets.